Here lies Intel, brutally murdered. The culprit? One Dr. Lisa Su.
It's so good to see you all here today.
Could there be a more beloved CEO in the tech space right now? Sit down, Techno King. Dr. Su was not merely content to save AMD from bankruptcy. She just got on stage at Computex 2021 to deliver a flurry of body blows to both Intel and NVIDIA with a single, simple message. AMD is back, and AMD won't wait for them to pick up the pace. And then there was also a bunch of more complicated messages. And if I'm gonna get to all of it, I better pick up the pace and tell you about our sponsor, Bridge Wallet. Bridge Wallet has redefined the traditional wallet with its compact frame and RFID blocking plates. Keep your wallet bulged down and use offer code Linus to save 10% and get free worldwide shipping. Perhaps the most interesting announcement Dr. Su made was AMD's plans for the non-X series of Zen 3 Ryzen 5000 desktop CPUs. I mean, remember that, guys? When we used to have X and then we used to have non-X, which was pretty much the same thing but cheaper and could usually be overclocked? That went away with Ryzen 5000. Except, it's almost funny how recently we made this video begging AMD to release Zen 3 APUs, only to have them show up right now. So not only are the Ryzen 5 5600G and Ryzen 7 5700G APUs with very comparable specs to the already existing 5600 and 5700, they're gonna have respectable Vega 8 graphics, and they seem to be officially taking over the role that non-X SKUs had in the product lineup, making them an even better value thanks to the onboard graphics. Freaking A, man, if I'm Intel right now, I've gotta be desperately trying to clear warehouse space by unloading CPUs so I have room for all the pallets of deodorant that I'm gonna need after watching this keynote. By the way, get subscribed because we have a video coming on just such a weird backdoor fire sale that Intel seems to be running right now. So at this point, AMD has thoroughly beaten Intel in the server space, the high-end desktop workstation space, and now the consumer desktop, gaming, and mobile spaces. But now they're threatening one of the last little niches Intel held on to. You know, high-end CPUs with onboard graphics that you can use while you try to find a real graphics card. Now, we'll need to see for ourselves what the benchmarks look like, but given these specs aren't significantly lower tier than the X series SKUs, this looks like a great option for basically everybody given the current market conditions. Zen 3 CPU performance now, GPU upgrade path later. One area it looks like Intel will still only be competing against itself though is the low-end APU market. When pressed about the lack of Ryzen 3 APUs, AMD hinted that the current reality of supply and demand for desktop processors means that they have no plans to roll out anything like that anytime soon. That really sucks for budget-conscious gamers, but I also understand that if you can only get so many wafers, it's better to launch a few products you can actually supply than a whole whackload of products that you can't. Oh, though there might be one way to get a Ryzen 3 APU if you really want. AMD's dropping new Ryzen Pro products. They didn't announce them during the keynote, but they said we could talk about them anyway in case anyone is interested. I'm not sure that they're that interesting, but hey, here they are. Yep, those are business CPUs all right, for business. Now, moving on from business, we have a separate companion video about AMD's new RDNA2 based Radeon mobile GPUs with performance testing and first impressions. But the short version for you guys here is that AMD is claiming up to 43% lower power consumption for a given performance level versus their previous gen architecture. And while RDNA1 isn't amazing by today's standards, that's still nothing to sneeze at. 3 SKUs are coming. The Radeon RX 6800M with 40 compute units and 12 gigs of GDDR6 that AMD claims easily beats an RTX 3070 Mobile and is actually competitive with an RTX 3080 Mobile. Then we've got the Radeon RX 6700M with 36 compute units and 10 gigs of RAM aiming at mobile RTX 3070, and the RX 6600M, the first Navi 23 based GPU with 28 compute units and 8 gigs of RAM to take on the mobile RTX 3060. The RX 6800M and 6600M will be shipping in laptops starting in early June, while the 6700M will begin shipping soon, TM. That's not all the graphics news though. We finally got a preview of FidelityFX Super Resolution, AMD's long-awaited answer to NVIDIA DLSS, or Deep Learning Supersampling. We only really got a short glimpse of what it looks like, and if I had to guess, I'd say that's because AMD didn't really want us looking too closely at it. I wish I could say it's competitive, but it's a lot softer than I would have expected, and I honestly have my doubts about it being competitive with DLSS 2.0, which even then doesn't quite match native rendering, but at least is close enough that you probably won't notice while you're popping off headshots. As for why it looks the way it does, according to AMD, the algorithm they're using is a spatial upscaling algorithm that happens at the end of the graphics pipeline when the scene has already been rendered, which, oh, well, that kind of explains it, doesn't it? That is a much less sophisticated approach, to the point where it seems like it's basically a post-processing effect with some additional smoothing applied at the end, presumably to mask errors. Up to 4 modes can be selected though, depending on the implementation in-game, with AMD claiming FPS improvements of up to 300% with the performance mode. That seems a bit ambitious, so we're gonna have to wait and see. But don't you wait and see what you'll look like in an LTT stealth hoodie. Just visit lttstore.com and then imagine your face on my body. AMD wasn't done with the middle fingers to Intel though. Remember Ultrabooks, Intel's proprietary specification for thin and light notebooks? Well, now AMD is trying their hand at something similar, but for gaming laptops, called AMD Advantage. They've stopped short of calling it a certification program, so it's more like pirate code then. But essentially, if you see AMD Advantage on a laptop, you know that AMD helped directly with the design process, and you can count on there being a minimum spec. AMD specifically calls out Ryzen and Radeon Mobile 144Hz or better IPS or OLED displays with FreeSync Premium, an NVMe SSD, and AMD SmartShift and Smart Access Memory both supported and enabled out of the box. And aside from the hardware alone, AMD also says that it's about the experience. So they're targeting over 100 FPS gaming at 1080p, less than 3 milliseconds of display lag, and over 10 hours of video playback on battery at 300 nits brightness. Oh, and this is a fun one. The WASD cluster also needs to be cooler than 40 degrees for now, with lower targets coming in the future. The first 2 laptops with AMD Advantage, Asus's Strix G513 Advantage Edition and HP's Omen 16, will be rolling out later this month, with more to come from other partners like Lenovo and MSI. Man, I'd say it's been so long since AMD has had a compelling top-end mobile solution, but so long, I don't even think that covers it. I don't think they've ever had both the CPU and GPU align like this. It's both beautiful and scary all at once. I hope Intel's new CEO has a strong stomach, because it is going to be a heck of a ride from here. Now, AMD pre-briefed us on some of the keynote because they understand that making videos requires scripting time and editing time and export time, but then they left part of it as a make sure to watch it all kind of thing, which demonstrates that they don't understand that you need time to script, edit, and export. So this section is reserved for anything we felt needed to be hastily edited in. Thanks a lot, AMD.
AMD's gonna be in cars? Yeah, APUs and dedicated GPUs in Tesla Model S and X. Not sure why. Get it? Why? There's also more teasing about the Samsung and Radeon collab with no firm details. Confirmation that FidelityFX Super Resolution will be available to all GPUs, including NVIDIA's, back as far as Vega and the RX 500 series. And then there's the big news, AMD's new 3D chiplets. They're basically what it sounds like, 3D stacked chiplets, which means, for example, a dedicated cache die could be added on top of each compute complex for significantly higher density. The example they gave was a Ryzen 9 5900X with 192 megabytes of cache. It's a lot of cache, which ran a full 12% faster in gaming than the stock 5900X does in the same package. They're claiming that the 3D stacking tech doesn't use micro bumps as Intel's Foveros does, and as a result, it can achieve up to 15 times the density while being 3 times more energy efficient. That's bad news for Intel, but for AMD, it represents a 200 times density increase over the current 2D layout. Oh, and even worse news for Intel, AMD says they're going to have it out probably by the end of the year.
All in all then, AMD is riding on a meteoric high right now. I bet Dr. Sue feels pretty good about the direction she's managed to steer a company that we all thought was done for a decade ago. And all of AMD's engineers and support staff should feel extremely proud of what they've been able to accomplish as well. I hope this is just the tip of the iceberg though, because let's face it, beyond the fanboyism, beyond the buyer's remorse, beyond even the tech industry, everybody likes an underdog story, and AMD has been an ultimate underdog comeback story. Though it's not looking like AMD is going to be much of an underdog story for long at this pace, so maybe one day soon we'll get a story of fire and vengeance from an Intel scorned. Though by the look of things, we're going to have to wait a while. Unlike our sponsor, Fangs. Fangs is a platform for independent engineers, product designers, 3D CAD enthusiasts, and hobbyists. And it's powered by geometric search, allowing you to find 3D models by uploading a different model and finding all similar models. Pretty neat, huh? So if you have a partially completed model, you can upload it to Fangs to find similar completed models to download for your project. You can create a private team of Fangs users so you can share great ideas and iterate on each other's designs, and you can keep track of model versions and revisions through the platform. The new hover and highlight feature makes part identification and selection possible, so you can find hidden parts within the assembly by hovering over the part name in the assembly list, and with over 1.6 million indexed models in the database, Fangs finds the exact item that you are searching for. So don't wait, join Fangs' growing 3D community at the link down below. Thanks for watching, guys. Normally here, I'd send you to watch a not too recent video that maybe you missed, but what you should really go check out is our companion piece on Radeon Mobile. We got hands-on with ASUS's AMD Advantage laptop, and it is a lot more interesting than you might think, which is really saying something.